up, though? And welcome back to I'm Growing Man. It's your man John D in the building. Um, those of you don't know, editing got downsized my team because I just couldn't afford it. So now you guys are watching my editing, and hopefully I'll be able to get it up to par in the next few weeks. And I know this room looks pretty bad right now, but it'll be hopefully in order in the next couple of weeks to a month. Finishing the last year, I mean the last end of the school year, we're in the last quarter, so just want to make sure that I do what I need to. So if this is kind of at a hindrance until I can get some time. But today, I specifically, let me see what else. Oh, yes, there was a podcast I was listening to. It gave some really good information about who should be able to give advice or critique someone. I think I heard, I don't want to say who, but I heard him say they have no idea what it takes to get to this level. They believe that they have the right to, well, they do, they have the right to critique, but what they're saying is not heavy. It's not as heavily, it's not, it shouldn't be weighted as heavily. So, meaning, watching the game of basketball, I love basketball for those of you that don't know. There are a lot of analysts that have no idea what it takes to get to a certain level. Not saying they can't critique the game, but some of their comments doesn't allow them to be as important as they are. And that led me to start thinking about relationships, marriage. When I'm watching different podcasts and I see all of this advice being given, and I started thinking about like they're not even in a relationship or in a long enough relationship to give advice. They can just say what didn't work for them. But when you remain in a relationship for a long period of time, you can give honest feedback and say, hey, this is what works. A lot of times everybody say what doesn't work. No, this doesn't work for me. There are things that work for everybody, every single person. You may not be in favor of it, but it will work for you. And the only reason why a lot of people are not in favor of some of the things that I may present today is because they didn't think that it was necessary or they never thought that they needed to do those things. So, me being married 17 years in June, and I can tell you a lot, but I'm going to give you the main reasons why she and I work. Now, there were different people. She and I were definitely responsible for different parts of the relationship to get to where we are. But overall, I believe she and I are qualified to give important feedback so that people can find a way to make it work. Some people, a lot of people, feel like they understand what it takes to be in a relationship because they've seen one, they watched the movies, their friends been in one. But in order to really know, you have to go through the experience. And unfortunately, the experience only lasts for so long for some people because they don't know that it's levels to it. You could say, I've done everything I can. But that's not the case because if you did everything you could, it would work. Now, it does take two people. Now, depending on if you're the male or the female in a relationship, and I'm going to be general as possible, okay? I do believe women are supposed to complement men in a relationship, but it looks differently. It's not just cleaning the house, raising the kids, them going to work and earning their keep and doing all of these other things in the household. There's so many different things that we can do. I read something recently. It said that a relationship could be 50-50. Sometimes it's going to be 90-10. And other times it's going to be 10-90. And that's what I was mentioning earlier. Like different parts of our relationship, one or the other worked harder than they were supposed to. Not saying that the other person didn't know they were working hard, but they were just overwhelmed with whatever was going on in their life. Or for me, as an example, I just thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't realize I could do more. As this relationship matured and I learned the responsibilities of being her husband, and when I say her husband, because I am her husband, and my job is to be an example to compliment my wife in ways that no other man can. And that's the job I accepted. I didn't realize what it took to do it. When we originally got married, I was like, I'm working, I'm going to do everything I can. But I didn't realize the small things that make a house a home. She made our house a home throughout our marriage. And I didn't know how to do that because I grew up in an apartment. So just imagine growing up in an apartment and you have no idea what it takes to actually live in a house or what it takes to run a house. Not only that, I grew up in a broken household, and my father was the nurturer. So imagine an abusive man that's doing the best he can, but he's the nurturer that's physically and verbally abusive. Very different experience for me to grow up into an adult and be able to compliment my wife. A lot of the things I did to compliment her was pretty much, what is it called? It was called like fluff from other people's ideas or relationships. And when I say that, I mean like just like men, we get this message that we're supposed to protect our family, we're supposed to earn the money for the family. But if that's all that a man is gonna do, that relationship will not work. I don't care who that woman is. That woman will eventually get burnt out. And the reason why I know this is because I've spoken to a lot of women, and a lot of times they say they're in a good relationship, but it can always get better. But the only way it could get better is if their partner decides to improve, because most of the time women are stretched out thin from the amount of things that they have to do to make a house a home. And I'm not saying that there aren't men out there that know what a home looks like, but from my experience, women have a better idea of what it should look like, feel like. And yeah, I guess I can just say that they know what it feels and looks like. And sometimes I remember me and my wife, I used to think certain things where it wasn't necessary. And then I look, I'm like, I'm glad she did it, because if she didn't do it, I would have never done it, because I grew up financially poor. So everything had something to do with money. So whenever I needed something, I have to automatically think, is this going to cut into something? So in order to make a house a home, you have to buy things in the house. And I feel like if we're not in a certain place, why are we buying these things? I didn't understand. I, like in my mind, we were just gonna save and then we were gonna buy things, but I didn't know it should. It's more so like over the course of time, you should add things because it makes you feel like it's yours. I grew up, I never painted a wall until I moved in with my wife. In 2007, we bought a townhouse in Atlanta and we painted a wall. That was the first time. I was 27, 7. I just turned 27 when we painted a wall. Now, like all of the rooms have something on them, and and like that's the reason why this room looks like this, because growing up in an abusive household, you get in trouble. So I just didn't think you were supposed to paint, but now I'm making this my place. And over the course of time, I'm going to have different things that show to reflect me. And not said that I kind of got off the track, but people that can give advice on relationships. I feel like you should be in a relationship for a minimum of 5 to 7 years. And if you're not extremely happy, you probably shouldn't be giving no advice, giving any advice, because a lot of times when you're not happy, you make a relationship more difficult than it is. And I've noticed since I've gotten to this point in my life that I'm the happy all the time. There are moments where I might not be happy, but overall, I'm extremely happy. And I have to give thanks to my wife for that, because she was patient enough for me to mature so that I could grow up and become the husband that she needed to live the rest of her life with. Because I do want to say, like, there were times where she thought that it would probably be in our best interest to separate and go our separate ways. We'd just be co-parenting. And that was never my idea. But it was only hers because I didn't know how to be a husband. Well, I didn't know how to be the husband that she needed. So over the course of time, when I realized this, I decided to do a lot of research on other men who have been successful. So sometimes you just gotta read a book of relationships and see what they're talking about. If people are buying books from people, it's worth reading. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to go that route, so they'll listen to podcasts that are entertaining. But some podcasts give bad information that it's discouraging for a lot of people to get in relationships. I will say that being a man, I do believe that men control everything. If a man is initiating some type of contact with a woman, like he's choosing to do so, she could decide to stay there or leave also. She has that choice. But the man is initially putting in this effort. And if it gets to a point where it don't work, it's because not enough questions were asked in the beginning. And when I say enough questions, I mean questions like, like how are your siblings? Like how is the relationship between your siblings? How's the relationship between your mother and your father? Are they still together? Like what happened? What did you look at? What did you see that you wanted? Did you even want to be one? Like these questions are so important because they come up later. And a lot of times the thrill of newness will make you forget to ask these questions because you're mesmerized by the way they look or because they sound very educated or they're inspirational. And I'm not saying these aren't good things to have, but if you don't know the parts that could break the relationship, because a lot of times we're dealing with trauma that we've never dealt with. And if you get in that situation where you haven't dealt with your trauma, it's going to come out in the relationship and it's not going to always look the best. I'll say, like with me, the way that I talked to my wife and my kids at a younger age, it was just real nasty. And I didn't know I was being nasty, nor did I know I could improve. But looking back, I could see how a woman wouldn't want to be spoken to like that. I remember I used to tell her, you know who you married. This is who I am. And how it's embarrassing as a man. Like I couldn't like she didn't deserve that treatment, so why am I giving it to her? But I wasn't looking at it like that. I was looking at it like this is who I am, and this is what you marry. Not thinking that I can improve that. So being in this relationship almost 17 years and another couple of months, 17, and the relationship has just exponentially gotten better for me. She says that she's happy, and I believe her. But she's definitely been happier in the past. Not saying she's not happy now, but she was in a glee state about me. Like she really enjoyed, she loved me in a different way that I can't even explain because it's almost like fairy tale type stuff. But now my intentions on making her happy, it's like an everyday routine. I'll show you this. When I first moved back from Abu Dhabi, my family had already been here back for like a year and a half. So they were already settled in. And at this time, gone for a long period of time, only coming back on breaks, I'm trying to create this relationship that I want with my wife. And she really wasn't feeling me because she didn't know that I was really on this journey of just trying to improve any and everything that somebody could say is negative or they don't want to deal with, especially my wife. So when I came back, I am doing everything I can, but she's not, she's kind of like standoffish to a degree. And I decided to say, hey, I'm going to massage your feet every day for the rest of your life. And when I started that, I really had a good thing going on. It lasted for maybe like 3 or 4 months, but I got sick, got out of the routine. And my son recently said, Father, why don't you massage mother's feet anymore? And I was like, you know what? I just mentioned this to her. The whole intent of me massaging her feet was I know that she likes her feet massaged, she likes her feet cared for, but I was just going to get that conversation. If I'm doing this in my mind, I'm going to ask questions. It created a lot of conflict because we had conversations that we just never had before. And through that time, it worked out. Like we got to really know each other. And like I said, I did stop. But recently, like I said, I told her that I want to go back to at least doing it a couple times out the week because she deserves it. And I want to show her how much I appreciate her. She makes me feel exceptional. When I say that, I know like there's people that's married, but she and I have a relationship where we genuinely enjoy each other's energy. And I wouldn't have gotten that if she didn't have the patience for me to mature and grow up. Like if she and I didn't work, I would have probably gone crazy thinking like I was doing everything I was supposed to do. Why didn't I get this information? So now I'm just all about trying to give the best information for people to succeed. If you're a man in a relationship and it's not working, it's your fault. That's it. You either don't know how to pick the woman or you don't know what it takes for the relationship to succeed. That's the only options. That's if you, in my mind, are alpha male where you want to win. You have to accept all accountability on why it's not working. If this person's your person, you got to make sure you ask her enough questions, ask them enough questions where you can feel like you know enough that you're willing to deal with their baggage. If you don't know about their baggage is going to come up. And I recognize a lot of people always say, I didn't know this. Why didn't you know it? Was she keeping it away from you? And I'll say this: sometimes you'll run into people that will keep information from you, but overall, if you ask enough questions, it's gonna come out. And if you don't ask enough questions, you're gonna just hope that you're willing to deal with whatever she got, and vice versa. Because if you're not asking those questions, she's probably not asking those questions, and neither one of you know about your baggage. So you have to intentionally ask questions that can give you enough information to say, I know why I went forward. Because a lot of times men are just strictly driven by appearance and a conversation or how much money they make. It's not about the piece of just having dialogue that you look forward to. when I have conversations with my wife, I look forward to how she's going to respond because I know that we're two different people. But if you don't look forward to that, you're only looking forward to things that doesn't hold enough weight. I know if as we've gotten older, our kids are going to be leaving soon, and it's just going to be us. But we have this routine where we enjoy each other's company and we continuously ask questions because we want to know how each other feels so that we don't cross a boundary we don't know about. Your partner only knows so much. And if you haven't revealed it to them, they haven't asked a question, they don't know. And a lot of times our responses can catch people off guard if we've never asked it before and you've never dealt with it. It could sound very defensive and negative. And your partner doesn't deserve that. But if you recognize that, you should be willing to apologize or be willing to talk about it. I know that now, me and my wife, like I said, we got these boundaries, these rules that you can't cross. And if you do, you have to do these steps. Like there's been times where we was like, okay, we're not talking anymore right now. And we have 48 hours to figure it out. In the beginning, it was longer. And then we was like, there's no reason why we should be married and having 2 days of not talking. That doesn't even make sense. These last few years, we haven't had more than a couple of hours because we're not doing it on purpose. We're responding emotionally from bad habits that we learned from our childhood. And it's up to us to unlayer those together, unless you go to a therapist. But we have these conversations. A lot of you guys watch our podcast, Doing Too Much. And we just talk about how we got to this point. And that's the reason why I'm talking about this today, because I feel like there's so much bad information out there that if you listen to the wrong information, you may get discouraged and not take your shot and get in a relationship or get married. And if you do that, you're going to cheat yourself so many different experiences. You can get enough experience and watch people be single. And I'll tell you this, as they get older, they don't want to be alone. And if you don't have a partner to share things with, I know a lot of people like, I got friends. You do, but it's somebody new every day. Or it may not even be anybody there. Somebody should be there where you guys can build and enjoy each other's company. And watching my friends who are older living a single life, it looks like you need to sit down. Like literally, like you know how I guess when we were younger, you like seeing some sugar daddies. It's like, man, they need to go sit down somewhere. I wish my friends could sit down somewhere with somebody that could give them that reason to sit down. But insecurities from childhood has casted a shadow or a coat from preventing you from breaking the ceiling. And you'll end up staying in this bubble that you don't even deserve. But if you're afraid to experience new things, you'll remain in the bubble and complain about things that you don't have. And you may not complain out loud, but I do know you deserve a level of happiness that you were not allowed to get because some bad information you got prevented you from taking that walk. And if it's anything that I recommend, it's only for mature people. Relationships are for mature people. If you are not mature, there's no way it's going to work. And a lot of times, somebody's not mature, at least for the other person. So watch the information you receive and understand. It's going to take an effort you haven't seen before. Even if your parents are in a great relationship, you didn't see them day to day interact. Like you grew up and you left, but even when you were home, you did not see them interact without you around. And you're only around for so long after you're a little kid. And looking now, I'm looking for any interaction with my wife so that she can truly appreciate life with me. Like she could be single, she could be with somebody else. But being that she's not, I want her to eventually have this feeling that I'm so happy to be married and I'm so happy to be married to me, to John, me, him. I want her to feel that. And I know she says it, but I know that she deserves even more than that. So I am continuously finding ways to improve and compliment her in a way that my kids can say, I want to be like that, or I want to find a man like that. Because if she's happy, she creates a different product. And if I could be a part of that happiness, it'll be a beautiful process. So before I go, make sure you guys watch and be careful of the information you receive. And I will say this before I go. Sex is a distraction. It's overrated. It's not as important as people say in successful relationships. If you have to have sex with somebody before you get in a relationship, you probably don't need to be in a relationship because giving somebody that type of energy and they don't deserve it and they could give you some energy you don't deserve. Be careful because in the era I grew up, experimentation, exploration with other people was necessary. And guess what? It caused a lot of heartache, pain, unnecessary kids, and poor parenting practices. Nobody wants. Y'all make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. GATA. Get after that action, or that action will get after you. Be great on purpose. Boom.